How often are you fertilizing your plant, and could you be unknowingly killing your plant with kindness? Hi, I'm Claire Aiken with the Houseplant Resource Center, and today I want to talk about the 7 signs that you may be over-fertilizing your plant. All right, so a lot of people who come to our site love their plants and they really want to baby their plants and they want to give them the most care possible. But one of the problems is sometimes I see people over fertilizing their plants, which can kill them in a hurry. Some of the reasons why this happens is because oftentimes people fertilize with different formulas and those all add up to cause too much fertilizer. Much like if you accidentally take Tylenol and then you take NyQuil, which contains Tylenol, you could be inadvertently taking too much of the same drug because you're taking individual drugs that combine little bits of each. For this reason, I really recommend only using soil that does not have a fertilizer in it, and to not use dry fertilizer or granules of slow release fertilizer, because you don't know how much is still left in your soil and how fast it's releasing. I recommend only using a liquid fertilizer on virgin unfertilized soil so that you can measure out how much you need for your plant and add it each week every time you water. And so we make a fertilizer called Indoor Plant Food that is super gentle. There's no risk of burning. You put 1 teaspoon per plant into your watering can, water as normal once a week so that your plant gets a steady dose of fertilizer and you're not adding up with fertilizer in the soil, slow release fertilizer, and then another liquid fertilizer, and you end up with a plant that's dying because you're trying to help it. So here are the 7 signs that your plant is over fertilized. First of all, a crust of fertilizer or salt on the soil. So fertilizer is essentially salt. And so as your fertilizer builds up in your soil, you can see this crusty, salty residue. If there's that mineral buildup, that is one sign that you are over fertilizing. Number 2 is a yellowing and a wilting of the leaves, particularly the lower leaves. So as these plants are fertilized too much, their lower leaves start to die off and they kind of wilt or turn yellow. Another sign of too much fertilizer can be browning of the tips of the leaves. This also happens if you have chlorinated water, and there's some other reasons, but this is just one clue that your plant may be over fertilized. Next is actually having to do with the roots of your plant. So if you pull your plant out of the pot, you can look at the roots, and if they're blackened or brown and limp, that may be a sign that they are just getting bombarded with too much fertilizer and the roots are actually dying. So this is helpful to pull your whole root ball out of the pot. Make sure it's not too wet, because a lot of the problems that we're discussing can also be caused by overwatering. So just inspect the root ball and see if it's not too wet and what the roots look like. All right, the 5th sign of too much fertilizer is actually falling leaves. And so this can happen if your plant has root rot. It can also happen if your plant isn't getting enough light, but it can happen in some plants if you're over fertilized. So it's just one thing to look out for. Number 6 is lack of new growth or lack of blooming if you have a blooming plant. And so what happens if these plants are unhappy, they're just getting shocked by too much fertilizer, they just stop growing and they look unhappy. And that's one of the telltale signs. As you get to know your plant better, you can look at it and just, if it hasn't grown in a long time, despite having the nutrients because you are fertilizing it, you may be overdoing it. All right, so those are some of the signs of too much fertilizer. And so like I said, I recommend using a liquid fertilizer that you're actually diluting yourself and you're pouring onto your plant each and every week. That way you're getting more of like a daily boost, like a multivitamin, instead of some Thanksgiving dinner and then starving in between. And so that's really what's best for the health of your plant long term. And you can always stop fertilizing if you see any of these signs. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. I'll see you next time.